Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber continues to hear the main testimony of civil party through TCCP 235. Ms. Sekolbuti, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to discuss are present. Mr. Nunchi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. Civil party who is to conclude his testimony today, that is through TCCP 235, is present in the courtroom, and we do not have any reserved witness today. Thank you. President, thank you, Mr. Sekolbuti. The Chamber now decides on the request by Nuon Chea. The Chamber has received a waiver from Nuon Chea, dated 11 November 2016, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his rights to be present at the 11 November 2016 hearing. Having seen the medical report of Nuon Chea by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC, dated 11 November 2016, which notes that today Nuon Chea has a constant level of pain when he sits for long and has a mild numbness in his leg, and recommends that the Chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the Chamber grants Nuon Chea his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. The Chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nuon Chea can follow. That applies for the whole day. I now hand the floor to the co-prosecutor to put further questions to the civil party. And you have your remaining time is 30 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning to all the parties. Good morning, civil party. I believe I have about 40 minutes, Mr. President, because it was 2:10 when the civil parties began questioning yesterday. I will try to go as quickly as possible. But, Mr. Civil Party, I will ask you to listen very carefully to the question and to respond a bit more quickly than yesterday if you can, or to have shorter responses. So yesterday, we had gone up to a meeting that occurred in Phnom Penh that you had been present at. You'd been brought from Koh Kong to Phnom Penh, and Nuon Chea had spoken and was at the side of Son Sen and others. And you said that Son Sen had actually said that the parties had said that you had prevented Yun from entering the country. Did Nuon Chea or Tamok tell you that you, the Khmer combatants, were stronger than the Vietnamese?
What you said is true.
Est-ce qu'ils ont dit qu'un seul Cambodgien?
Did they say that one single Khmer soldier had the value of 30 Yun?
he did not say that.
Donc, Monsieur la partie civile, vous nous...
Mr. Civil Party, yesterday you said that at a certain time you had been arrested and then tortured on a boat, then released, but set to work. When you learned that you were meant to go to the front in the east, did you not find this bizarre, that you would be reintegrated into the army, the Khmer Rouge army, in order to go to the Eastern Front?
I never thought that I would be sent to the battlefront, and I was thinking that they would send me to be imprisoned. But in fact, I was sent to fight against the Vietnamese.
Est-ce que les partis...
Did the participants in this meeting have the choice, or not, to rejoin the army and be sent to the front?
At the time, I could not decide that I would not go.
Hier, vous avez dit que parmi les partis...
Yesterday you said that among the participants in this meeting that was presided over by Nguyen Xia, you said that there were more than 1,000 people, and then you said that 400 among them, including yourself, had been sent and placed under the command of Tapin. In which region and zone was your assignment, where Tapin was your commander?
After I was sent to the east zone, that is to Kampong Cham province, and then we arrived at the location of Tapin, not the Tapin, who was the deputy chief of the staff.
Et hier, vous aviez parlé...
Yesterday, you spoke of the head of the army, Sun Sen, and that he brought equipment with him, but you didn't say which type of equipment had been provided. So can you please clarify? Were you weaponized right there?
But
Yes, when I arrived at the deputy commander's headquarters, it was at around 9 or 10 in the morning. Sun Sen and two Chinese advisors with several of his bodyguards arrived. He then arranged us into different groups and units.
Quel type d'armes avez-vous reçu?
What type of weapons did you receive at that time?
There were Chinese AKs, and in this there was a mixture of weapons, including AR-15, which was US made. So I could say it's a mixture of products. As for the commanders, they were received a pistol and a rifle each.
Vous avez dit que des groupes.
You said that groups were formed. What was your group and what was your role within this group or unit?
I was attached to Company 1. I was the deputy chief of that company. And there were about 200 of us. And they were under the supervision of my commander and myself as his deputy.
Avez-vous dû
At a certain time, did you have to participate in combat against Vietnamese forces?
After we were equipped with weapons, there were also a tank unit. We then had to mobilize to the front battlefield during the night time.
Vous est-il arrivé en
You arrived in 1977, I believe you said. In 1977 and 1978, did you participate in attacks in Vietnamese territory?
At the beginning, Vietnamese troops were stationed in the vicinity of Cray, and when my group attacked them, they retreated to Memut, and after we broke them at Memut, they relocated themselves to the area along the border, that is in Tây Ninh province. They relocated themselves into their territory, and we had to set up our defense line, and some of us were reassigned by Son Sen to enter Vietnamese territory.
dans la
In the zone you were posted in, so towards Pony Creek, Memut, in the east zone, near Kampong Cham, at the time were there Vietnamese civilians who were arrested by the Khmer Rouge Army, whether in Vietnamese territory or in Cambodian territory?
When I returned, I saw some of the people were arrested.
Savez-vous où
Do you know where these people were sent and what happened to them?
Those people were sent to the staff office of a Tapin or Ta Son Sen. They actually had a prison there, and they produce cuffs and shackles for those people, as they suspected them. Then Ta Pin and Son Sen made a decision to return those people to the base. But I did not know whether where they were sent to. But they directed the soldiers to escort them to go to the base on vehicles.
Et que faisait-on des
And what happened to the Vietnamese military who were arrested in the context of the conflict with Vietnam?
Regarding the arrest of Vietnamese soldiers or civilians, Son Sen strictly prohibited anyone to kill them, and that they had to be sent to Phnom Penh.
Est-ce que vous avez entendu que dans
Did you hear that in the area you were posted to that there were mixed Khmer Vietnamese couples? So either the husband was Khmer or the wife was Khmer. And were there any instructions regarding these persons, and particularly regarding the Vietnamese partner in these mixed couples?
No, I was not aware of that.
durant toute la période où vous avez
During the entire period that you worked for Son Sen and Ta Pin in the East Zone, was Son Sen frequently gone to go to Phnom Penh?
Son Sen, in his capacity as a military commander throughout the country, he went back and forth between the battlefields and the military headquarters. So he made his trips to the East Zone or to the Southwest Zone. He made frequent trips.
vous aviez été assez
You were quite detailed in your WRIE 3/9772 in answer number 2. You said the following, and I'll be quoting it in English.
Ta Pin was responsible for the military in the entire country and worked as Son Sen's replacement whenever Son Sen was absent. For example, when Son Sen went to join meetings in Phnom Penh, Ta Pin would be in charge in his absence. End of quote. Donc, dans ce passage, il semble
So in this excerpt, it seems that you were aware of the fact that Son Sen was going to Phnom Penh. How did you know that, and was it frequent?
In his capacity as a military commander, he made his trips, and usually he would be escorted by 3 or 4 vehicles full of his bodyguards. And at the minimum, he would have 2 or 3 bodyguards with him all the time. And he made his frequent trips through Phnom Penh and through the battlefields.
lorsque vous étiez posté
When you were posted at the Eastern Front, were there massive purges of cadres from the East Zone, whether they were military or civilian, in 1977 and 1978? Do you know anything in this regard?
I did not have a full grasp of the situation since I was at the battlefront, and when I was still a monk. Rather, when I was wounded on my left leg, I was sent to be hospitalized. And I had people speaking about the arrest of people in the East Zone, as well as those former soldiers in the East Zone who were under the under the supervision of Sao Pum. They said that party had to gather them, and those soldiers were, that is, the East Zone soldiers were arrested and sent to the rear.
Est-ce que vous avez...
Did you attend meetings where the internal purges or suspected people were discussed?
But I did not involved in any internal purge. I attended their meetings. That is, those meetings which focus on the defending of our territory and the fight against the UN.
Vous avez dit ceci.
You said this in the same WRI, E3/9772. Answers 8 and 9 are of interest, but in 12 you said the following, and I quote in English.
After Sao Pim's suicide, the civil cadres in the East Zone were replaced by cadres from the Southwest Zone. In those meetings, the internal purges were discussed, but the terms internal purges were not obviously spelled out. They just said they had to identify people who joined with the Vietnamese and that they had to reorganize the base. End of quote. Donc, est-ce que dans les...
So in the meetings that you attended, do you indeed confirm that internal purges were talked about, as well as identifying those who had gone to join the Vietnamese?
Monsieur la partie civile, est-ce que vous pouvez répondre?
Mr. Civil Party, could you please answer the question? Did you attend meetings or participate in meetings where internal purges and the fact that people allied with the Vietnamese or who had joined the Vietnamese needed to be identified?
No, I did not.
This is what you said before the investigators of the OCIJ here at the court. So are you contradicting what you said, or do you confirm that what you said back then is correct?
In fact, I never attended such meeting. As for the military meetings, I did attend them. But when I lived in the East Zone, my main focus was on the fight against the Vietnamese and nothing else.
Did you attend a meeting in Chup in the big rubber plantation where Pol Pot apparently came?
I was a guard providing protection for brother number one. I cannot tell you how many of us were sent to protect him, but maybe half of us were assigned to protect him. My three platoons were assigned to provide the security for the upper echelon who came to attend a meeting.
At answer 68 of the WRI E3/9771, you said that this meeting took place in the middle of 1978. So, did Pol Pot speak then? Did you hear what he said?
I was in a quite far distance. I could not hear clearly what he said. But I asked those who were sitting closer to him, and they said that Pol Pot made mention about frontiers and the national affairs. He also stated about the population who had been seized by Vietnamese army. There were different issues that were discussed, but I was not interested in those issues. I asked those who were sitting closer, but not much.
Do you know, or did you obtain any information from these people who were sitting next to him? Do you know if Pol Pot spoke about the external as well as the internal enemies?
Those who told me said very little about some issue, as I have just told you.
Well, I have two series of questions. The first goes back to the period when you were in Kompong Saum. So that is around 1975, I believe. So did you attend, or did anyone relate the content of meetings that were chaired by Mahmoud back then?
I personally never met Mahmoud. I could see him from a distance. I never attended any meetings where Mahmoud was present.
You said in WRI E3/9773 at answer 12, and I will quote in English, it's only one sentence.
and you said that you never attended political education sessions, then you say, but one of my friends who was a party member and attended the meetings told me about the content of the meetings. End of quote. Est-ce que vous pourriez...
So can you tell us what one of your friends who was a party member and who attended the meeting told you regarding the content of Miermus' statements in Kompong Som, and in particular what I'd like to focus on is if he said anything about the Lon Nol soldiers.
My workmate told me that Miermus stated about the defense of the maritime sea or maritime border. There was a suspicion that the pirates secretly fished in the maritime territory, and he advised all of us to arrest them but not to kill them.
So I would like to quote what you said before. The investigators, it's answer 13 of that WRI E3/9771, and I will quote in English.
At that time, in the meetings, Ankar, or the party, proclaimed they planned to screen the army. Ankar planned to smash the capitalists and former Lon Nol soldiers. End of quote. Est-ce que vous confirmez?
So do you confirm what your friends or colleagues, that they spoke about that?
I cannot give you my answer since I did not catch your question very clearly.
Civil party, I quoted what you yourself said to the investigators of the OCIJ, that is to say that one of your colleagues apparently relayed to you what Mehmut said during meetings at Kompong Saum, and you answered that Ankar proclaimed that it was planning to purify the army, and that Ankar was planning to smash the capitalists and the former Lon Nol soldiers. So my question is the following: do you confirm that one of your colleagues said that to you?
My friend or my friends never told me about that. I was told that we were advised to defend our maritime border.
Monsieur la...
Civil party, you said that yourself, and you signed the record. I believe that the record was read out to you, and you signed it. So is there any reason that explains why you are changing your position today?
I never told anyone about that. I did say that I went to work in a navy, and I received an instruction from my commander to attend a meeting with Tamut. I never discussed about the former Lone soldiers. I did say about the defense of maritime sea.
Do you sometimes suffer from memory problems, civil party?
But that is true. The events took place quite a long time.
Bon, le temps,
Well, I'm soon done with my time, and I have a last series of questions, and they regard the Krang Tak Chang Security Center. And you often said that members of your family were probably detained there. And I would like to start with your father. What did you learn regarding his arrest? And what did you learn regarding his possible detention at Krang Tak Chang?
Allow me to inform you that after 1979, I returned to find and search for my parents and family members in my birth village. Upon my arrival there, I learned that I lost my beloved father, since he had been evacuated out of Takao. I asked those who learned about his whereabouts, and I was told that my father was sent to Phnom, something like that. I was told that he had been tortured before his execution in late 1975.
I would like to read a part of your WRA E319.23.3.42. This is answer 165 in English again.
and I quote first the question, "What happened to your parents?" And you replied, "After 17 April 75, Khmer Rouge soldiers evacuated them out of Takeo province. My father was arrested and detained in Krang Tak Chang security office in Tram Kak district, Takeo province. They accused my father of being the chief of a 100 family group. He was tortured to death." Answer 170. They interrogated him and beat him to death. Answer 174. I also received information from a former militiaman of Krang Tak Chang security office who said that my father was detained in an underground cell and was killed in that office. Est-ce que cela rafraîchit?
Does that refresh your memory? Do you remember having said that?
Yes, I did say that.
Et qui est
And who are the people who spoke to you about the fact that your father was in Krang Tachang, and what did they tell you exactly about what happened to him, about the circumstances of his death?
I asked many survivors. I asked many of them repeatedly for clarification, and I was told that it is true that my father had been taken for torture at Krang Dajan, where he was also executed there. I did talk about that.
Aside from your father, did other members of your family, were other members of your family also detained in Krang Tachang based on what you learned after 1979?
I learned that one of my uncle from my side was also there.
Est-ce que c'est ton
Was this uncle part of the Lon Nol army, or was he just an ordinary citizen? Or was he involved in the revolutionary cause? What kind of person was he? What did he do?
He was a former teacher. He went to live in an area controlled by Lon Nol Republic regime. President interrupts. Mr. Co-prosecutor, you run out of time now. President, and the chamber now gives the floor to the defense team for the accused. First, starting from the defense team for Mr. Nguyen Chia to put questions to the civil party. You may now proceed.
No questions for the witness, Mr. President, but a question for the chamber. Why was this witness selected for the segment on the role of the accused? I haven't heard any relevant question in relation to that segment. So I would really appreciate to get some clarification as to the selection process. Why is this witness testifying here for this particular segment?
President, thank you. And now, the defense team for Mr. Akil Sampon to put question to the civil party. You may now proceed. Kong Samon. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, the chamber. Good morning, Mr. Civil Party. I have some questions to seek your clarification. You have just said that you learned your father died, and that information was learned by you after 1979. You learned from villagers. You also stated that your father died at Krang Dajan. in document E3/5979, that is your civil party application, the first application you filed. You similarly indicated that after 1979 you learned about that incident. However, you stated in that document that your father was detained at Kon Chma prison, Angkor Chai, Kampot province. So that was the different locations. So one was in Takao and another one was in Kampot. Do you have convincing evidence indicating the location where your father was detained, had been detained and executed? After 1974, said the civil party, I asked villagers. He was first detained at Phnom Chma. That is true. Later on, he was sent out from that location. Back then, Angkor Chai was located in Sector 13 in Takao province. That was in Khmer Rouge time. He was further sent to Krang Tachan. I learned that from the survivors, and I was told that he was further sent to Krang Tachan, and Krang Tachan was the place where my father had been executed. My father did not die in early 1975, but in late 1975 or perhaps in early 1976 when he was killed. Counsel, I want you to indicate the names of those who learned the information from. And my second question is about the discrepancy in relation to your statement. In your first application in 2008, you did not indicate that your father died at Krang Tachan, but later on, after the chamber heard about Krang Tachan location, you started to make mention about Krang Tachan. Why did that happen? Answer. At first, I did not imagine that there would be an internationalized court, so I just indicated in my application with some confusing points. I put all information with the assistance of ad hoc organization, and I did not know at the time if there were loopholes or gaps in the information I put in that application. I never hoped back then that justice could not be sought for those who died. Counsel, so I can summarize that you did not know the clear or certain location where your father died. Is that correct? I myself did go to Krang Tajan to search for my father's name. But a woman told me about my father's fate, and that woman was the one in charge of that prison. She said my father had been sent to Krang Tajan, and that a woman is still surviving and is alive now today. Counsel, do you know the clear identity of that woman whom you said that she was in charge of Krang Tajan back then? Can you inform the chamber about that? Answer. I was talking about Phnom Chmal, the woman who was once in charge of that prison at Chmal prison. Counsel, thank you. A little while ago, you stated that your father died at Krang Tajan in late 1975. Did I learn that from you correctly? President, please observe the microphone, Mr. Civil Party. Civil Party, that is true. It was in late 1975 or perhaps early 1976. Question. In the same document, E3/5979, the second last page from the second last, you stated that your father was detained at Chmal prison, Kongpo Kampot province in 1978. So in that document you made mention about the detention of your father in 1978, but so how could you say that he was detained at Krang Tajan in 1975? Civil Party, there may have been confusion in putting that information by the one who assisted me in writing that application. Counsel, thank you. Regarding your siblings, male siblings, 3 of them, you indicated that they died, and you once said that they were former soldiers. Do I understand you correctly? Answer. One of them was a former soldier, and another one was a former public servant in Lon Nol's time, and the last one lived in Battambang province, the area controlled by the Republic, Khmer Republic. My last sibling was simply a farmer or peasant. Counsel, could you indicate about your last sibling, which you stated that he was a peasant? Answer. That was my my third elder brother, Unyong. Counsel, that he was your second or third elder brother? Answer. He was my third brother. In the same document, part C, said the counsel, you indicated that all of your elder brothers were peasants. Why is there discrepancy in the information you gave? I thought that indicates time. Each and every one was peasant. That's why I put in the application that they were all peasants. Counsel. And concerning your elder brothers who used to be soldiers, how long were they in army?
បងបន្ទាប់
My elder brother U Dan became a Republic soldier in 1970. As for my eldest brother U Nyon, he was a former teacher. He taught in Takai province, and after the coup d'etat period, he took his family to live in Phnom Penh, and I learned that he worked in a navy station at Chirui Chongwa. My second elder brother, U Nyong, did not work, but he was a peasant in Battambang province, and these are all facts.
បាទសូមអរគុណតាក់ទង
Question in relation to your mother, was she also detained at that Phnom Chma prison? Did you not learn anything about her fate? Answer. My mother lived in the cooperative, and she was considered as a family member of the enemy. Although she was allowed to live in the cooperatives, she was assigned heavy work. Council, thank you, Mr. Sivapati and Mr. President. I don't have any further question. President, thank you. Mr. Sivapati, you now reach the conclusion of your testimony, and you have an opportunity to make an impact statement in relation to harms you suffered during Democratic Cambodia. If you wish to do so, you have the floor. Sivapati, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Mr. President of the Chamber for allowing me to make my impact statement. In my capacity as a civil party, I'd like to make the following statement. And it will take the most 7 minutes. In 1970, I ordained as a monk in a pagoda in an outskirt area, and also during the year, the militia group forced us to disrupt and forced us to join the Revolutionary Army. I had to temper myself to follow the lines of the party and the revolution, although I had to endure wounds, or that I had to be amongst the corpses in the trench, that I had to endure sickness and fever. I had to always follow the revolution and the party. After the victory on 17 April 1975, I was removed by Democratic Cambodia from the army, and I was assigned to engage in intensive labor in Sector 11 in Kokong. I was imprisoned for 13 months in the wall-less prison. And by mid-1977, I was transferred to fight against the Vietnamese in the southwest, in the east zone for several months. And after 1979, I returned to look for my parents and surviving family members and relatives in my native village. And it was the most regretful and painful experience for me for the loss of my respected mother and father, my uncles, my aunts, my elder brothers, and my nephews and nieces of the three families of my siblings, all of them totaling more than 20, disappeared under the Democratic Cambodia. They were arrested, tortured, and executed. Every time I think of them, I feel the pain emotionally and physically, and I have been traumatized since. When this hybrid tribunal was formed, I lodged my complaint as a civil party in order to find justice for my parents, for my siblings, for my relatives, as well as for more than 2 million Cambodians who disappeared and lost their lives during Democratic Cambodia. And I would like to thank you. However, I still have some questions to put, and I sought your permission, Mr. President. Yes, you may proceed. You may put the questions to the accused through me, the President of the Chamber. But please don't put the questions to me, since I do not have any obligation to answer your question. Your questions shall be directed to the accused through me, the President of the Chamber. Civil Party, I have 2 short questions. And I'd like to put these questions through Mr. President. My first question is the following. I tried to follow the party lines. I sacrificed my life, and I did not mind as to when I die. And when the Democratic Cambodia was established, why my parents, my blood siblings, and my relatives, myself and my comrade in arms were tortured, was imprisoned, and forced to work day and night with insufficient food, and that they subsequently disappeared. Why such thing happened? And my second question is the following. I heard the announcement made on radio during Democratic Cambodia that it was a perfect regime. and the announcement was made by Keo Sampon that the food regime was 1.5 cans to 2 cans per day for each citizen. But in fact, all young and old citizens living in villages and cooperatives almost throughout the country received only watery gruel. Why? Why was that? Thank you. And I don't have any further question. But toward my conclusion, I'd like to express my thanks. President, thank you, Mr. Sivapati, and the Chamber wishes to inform you that in the proceedings in case 002/02, the two accused Nuon Chea and Keo Sampon maintains their position to remain silent and not to respond to any questions by the bench or the accused. And on the 8th of January 2015, in response to the questions of the Chamber, the co-accused reaffirmed their position to exercise their right to remain silent. And so far, the Chamber has not been informed of any change in that status or that they agree to answer these questions. And according to international and domestic laws, the Chamber cannot compel the accused to respond to your questions if they exercise their rights to remain silent. And do you wish to make any further statement? Sivapati, allow me to express my respect to the bench and the Chamber, and to conclude my testimony, I'd like to make the following statement. The events that were unfolded 20 to 30 years ago were of important nature for the public as far as for this generation and the upcoming generations. Thank you. President Mr. Sivapati, the Chamber is grateful of your testimony and the hearing of your testimony as well as your impact statement. As Sivapati, that is regarding the harms and suffered you claim you suffered under Democratic Cambodia has come to a conclusion, and your testimony may contribute to the ascertainment of truth in this case. For that reason, you may return to your residence or wherever you wish to go to, and the Chamber wishes you all the very best. Court officer, please work with Visu to arrange transportation for the Sivapati to return to his residence or wherever he wishes to go. And the Chamber will adjourn its proceeding today and will resume on Monday 21st November 2016, commencing from 9 o'clock in the morning. And on Monday, Tuesday that week, the Chamber will hear testimony of through TCCP 223 in the morning, and in the afternoon we will hear testimony of through TCW 842 via video conference from Paris, France. We also have a reserve witness, that is to TCW 871. The testimonies are related to the role of the accused. The information is for the parties and the general public. Security personnel, you are instructed to take the two accused, Nuon Chea and Keo Sampon, to the detention facility and have them returned to attend the proceedings on Monday 21st November 2016 before 9 o'clock in the morning. The Chamber is now adjourned.